Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's just gone 10 p.m. on for the 6th, 2020. Okay, I did my rant earlier on the right wing. I included some videos there of a chap called Jon Stewart, who used to run the Daily Show. Well, he made the Daily Show into one of the best shows, not just in America, but that a lot of people all over Europe watched as well and loved. He took on hypocrisy, he took on politicians, he fought for example, he fought for the firemen who were involved in 9/11, who were suffering as a result of the toxicity of the area and how it was affecting their lives later on. He took on the challenge of fighting for them, yet knowing it would be a massive, long war against the politicians. Politicians love to speak a good game, again, Republicans. They so love to speak a good game about how they champion the firefighters, the police, the FBI, etc., etc., etc. And yet, when it comes to actually putting things in practice to help these people, because they're suffering, because they did an important job in clearing up a site where there were dead people, where they were searching for people that had died, the Republicans say, yeah, so we can't afford that in this budget. Instead, we'd like to give more money to the rich and powerful. We thank you for your service, but we're not going to actually thank you properly. We're just going to do this little couple of words and say something in the press that makes it look as if we are grateful for what you've done. But although we promised that we would support you and that we would take care of you, we're not going to do that. Sorry. And that's the Republicans for you. That's why I can't stand them. So, as I say, Jon Stewart took that on. He was funny along with it. I'll include some more videos of his in this one because this one really is about him and the work he did. A Jewish man who originally, when he took on the Daily Show, it was very much just a little comedy show on the Comedy Central channel, and he took it from that to something where people actually tuned in to get the better view of the news, because he gave a bit more of an impartial view than the left or the right. He spoke out against the hypocrisy of both the left and the right. If one of them was lying, he would expose that lie, no matter which side was lying. When before Obama became president, the people on Fox were sort of saying to Jon Stewart, I bet you if it was a Democrat in power, you'd be holding them accountable like you are Bush. And yet he did. He held Obama just as accountable. When Clinton was in power, he held Clinton just as accountable as he did Bush. I liked him. In the end, towards the end of his time on the Daily Show, he turned his into more of a political comedy. It's more political comedy, but politics with a bit of comedy. But brilliant. He spoke about the things that were going on, and he would rubbish both sides. But typically, he had a war going on with Fox News. Even though he'd been on their channel, he had members of Fox News media on his channel, on his program, and he was always fairly respectful to them. I mean, even he did one episode where, leading up to it, he was having a go at this man. I've forgotten what the man's name is. Good question. I don't know. I don't know what the man's name is. Jim something. He was a financial person who was telling people to buy, when he himself knew that the stocks were toxic. Or at least he should have known. I mean, he did know. And the stuff that he really didn't know, he should have known. Because he was in Jim Crowley, I think his name was, something like that. But anyway, Jon Stewart was sort of saying, people like him are the problem. Well, that man then tried to defend himself and saying that Jon Stewart had been unfair. So it ended up where that man went on Jon Stewart's program on the Daily Show. And it was known as, where Jon Stewart basically ate him up. Completely ate him up. Although I think Jon Stewart was incredibly generous with that man. He really, really was incredibly generous. Because there's no way, shape or form I would have been anywhere near as generous with that man. The man was a liar. The man was trying to do his TV show. He knew that the bubble had burst. He knew that people were going to lose their houses. And yet he kept on telling people to buy these bonds, to buy these shares, knowing that they were worthless. Jon Stewart called him out to a certain degree, but was very generous to him. He didn't really call him out at all. It was like a puppy playing with a mouse, really. Jon Stewart should have been a Rottweiler with this man. Should have chewed it to pieces, spat him out. That should have ended that man's career completely. It didn't. He went back and still did the same old crap. Financial show, lying for his teeth. Didn't really learn much. Shameful. But I started really watching the Daily Show every flipping day I could. Around that time when he did that. When Jon Stewart did that interview. It was like, wow, that's the sort of stuff that we need. That's the sort of interviewer that we need. Because as well as doing comedy, he's doing all the rest as well. I'm going to include one video where of it. It's called Mighty Morphin Position Changes, as in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Come from that. And it was basically where Fox News was saying that the people that were claiming that one of the police victims of killings that the police killed had his hands up saying, don't shoot, before the policeman shot him. When that was found to be untrue, that those people that had been saying that was true should apologise. Because they were pushing an agenda that was completely fake. But then Jon Stewart said, wonder what other examples we have of people doing that. So then he pointed at Fox News. And that Fox News had for 2 years pushed their agenda on Benghazi, saying that the government had been lying through their teeth. The government ordered a stand down from its own troops so that the people in that embassy would die. And of course, when their own party, the Republican Party, did the investigation that found that none of what Fox was saying was true, Fox refused to even talk about that. Refused to even talk about it. They spent 2 years saying that the government had lied, that Obama, that Clinton, even that Clinton was still being harassed by the Republican Party and Fox News about Benghazi Years after that. That was in 2015. Even a year later, she was still being investigated on that. They knew it was all lies. They knew it was all rubbish. Yet they knew that this woman was the favourite to be heading up the democratic movement, and they targeted her with Benghazi, knowing it was a complete lie. Whew. Like I say, Jon Stewart, very funny, very clever, great writers. He had a great team. There's some fantastic artists went through his that program. Stephen Colbert, who has his own show now. Our Magical went through there as well. Again, very funny man, Our Magical. The chap who was in. Oh. Good question. Well, one of the top comedy actors. Forgotten what his name was, but he went through it as well. It was in Evan Almighty. I think it's Evan Almighty. The one who played Evan. He was in the Daily Show. He came through those ranks as well. And I was Stephen Colbert. And they were part of the comedy team. And as a program, it was fantastic at that point. I say Jon Stewart, Jewish man, he didn't just focus on Jewish issues. He spoke about Jewish issues, but he didn't just speak about that. Whereas the person now, Trevor Noah, as soon as they announced Trevor Noah, and as soon as he started talking about his experiences in South Africa, I knew straight away this is a huge mistake. This is not going to work in any way, shape, or form. Trevor Noah's got a massive chip on his shoulder. Because from his own story, when he was in South Africa as a child, he was a bit lighter skinned. I think some of his relatives were white, some were brown. So some were pink, some were brown. And so he was slightly lighter skinned than most South African people. And so he didn't really fit in with either camp. Because he wasn't white and he wasn't black. And so he lost out a lot as a child because of that. And he says that he hated being a child in South Africa. And more or less everything he discusses is black, is racist. And it's all, most of the people he has on the show are brown skinned people. Talking about brown issues, where they're making a TV program where it's all about brown people and their lives, their districts and about their way of life. It means your way of life. There's no way of life. You're human. You have a human way of life. You get up, you go to work, you come home, you eat, you take care of your family, you go to bed, you do the same again. So once a week you go to church. There you go. Story told. As I say, it was a great show, and it's a shame to have seen it go down in the direction it went now. To me, I don't watch it anymore. I watched it for about 4 months, I suppose, with Trevor Noah, hoping that it was going to get better, because I know when Jon Stewart started, it wasn't what it ended up being. So I thought with Trevor Noah, he might actually take it to a point, to a much better show, and no. I've watched some episodes over the last few years, and no. Not a program I can support anymore. Not in any way, shape, or form. So, it is what it is. Shame. Good program. Very good program indeed. So, yeah. Also, with regards to the protesters, there's some strange things happening. One of the people going to try and clean up after the protesters recently, when I said the protesters were defacing statues Other people going up to clean up the area after the protesters had been there doing things like that, was then receiving death threats over his reaction to the protest. Because he was basically saying that the protesters were out of order. And the people today, they were pointing out the fact that the Black Lives Matter, until at least today, on their manifesto, they were talking about basically defunding the police completely to the point where there's no police, getting rid of capitalism, and a few other things like that. But there was nothing at all in the manifesto about improving people for brown-skinned people. So why on earth they keep on saying Black Lives Matter when it doesn't matter in their manifesto, I don't know. No, it's crazy business. It really is. All this stuff. And it would be great to have Jon Stewart now. I mean, he was doing videos 5 years ago about all this stuff, about what was happening then, about the riots and stuff like that, and all the protests in them, because there was. But he was trying to see it because, of course, the news was painting it all out to be. It's quite funny. I would in that one Mighty Morphin position changes at the beginning of that one. I think it's that one. Now let me see. Is it? It might very well be. No. There was another one. Yeah, there was another one. I'm going to try and find the other video before this. It was very, very clever. Really, really clever indeed. Is another video where one of the Fox presenters was saying when there was a protest that he didn't think anything like this would ever happen before, would never happen again. It's been so long since anything like this has ever happened. And Jon Stewart showed only a few months earlier he had said exactly the same. And then there were people saying, all this, the protesters, it's okay they're protesting, but they're stopping traffic. They're stopping the city from being able to move. And Jon Stewart showed that there's at least 6 events every year where the traffic gets stopped through parades and things like that. And yet none of that's ever a problem. Christmas stops a lot of the traffic because they have a massive tree in the middle of the street. So that's going to have an impact in traffic, clearly. But at Fox, they don't seem to care about that. They only care about traffic being stopped when it's African Americans, brown-skinned people protesting. I think he's been missed because he stopped that, and I can see why. You got Trump in, and potentially 8 years of Trump. He wouldn't have a rest, not with all that, especially with Trump. I mean, all his Twitter rubbish. That would be an absolute field day for anyone, especially with the ability that Jon Stewart had and his team of writing the jokes and doing all that. They were doing fantastic at it. But that's the thing, he wanted to spend time with his family, and who can tell him off for that, really? So, yeah. No, for now, I mentioned him in the last video, so I thought I'd speak a bit more about him. So I will include a few more videos of his so people can have a look. But have a look at these videos. He was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. When I find the name of the chap who he had that big issue with regards to the Financial Times thing, I'll include that as well. I'll add that, and if I can find anything online of that argument, I'll include that video as well. All right. You take care. God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.